Hello and welcome to the ongoing meditation class here at Dhammaloka in Nollamara. For those who have come to the Introduction to Meditation class, the series of 4 talks to introduce people to the basics of meditation, that is being held in the room to my right. So this is the ongoing class. And because this is the ongoing class, not the introduction, usually we go a little bit deeper and we meditate a little bit longer. So if you haven't been here before, sometimes it can be a bit much for meditators. It's still, you're welcome to try in here, but for those who have come specifically for the 4-lesson Introduction to Meditation class, that is now proceeding in the room to my right, with a very wonderful teacher I've known for such a long time, and also he has a bald head as well, which shows that he's very experienced. Does it? I don't know. But anyhow, so in this meditation we learn how to, how the tricks in how to make the mind nice and peaceful. By being peaceful, what do you think peace means? We come in here. What sounds can you hear? It's not that many. The biggest noise you'll find in this room here is the sounds between your ears, in your brain. All the thinking and reacting and planning and remembering, all that inner noise. And that's called the thoughts in your mind. And if you look at those thoughts, you say, why am I just so concerned with them? They don't really assist you, they don't really be of service to you. They're just almost like, what's it called? In the old days when you used to listen to a radio, you got this background buzz. What was it called again? White noise. This is not really white noise, it's all coloured noises. And so because of that, it makes people a bit they can't really see clearly in their mind. It's like you have this background noise, you can't hear conversations. You've got this like smog or fog, dust in the air, so you can't see very far. Everything gets all clouded up and distorted. If you're looking at a lake of water, you just can't see deeply into it. Everything else is distorted by the currents and the movements of that water. And this is where we learn how to make our mind still. So there's hardly any movement at all in that mind. How do you know your mind is still? You know your mind is still when it starts to not just get clear, but to get joyful. The smile on your face gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's just one way of knowing that you're getting into some deep meditation. And it's very easy to convince yourself just by thoughts of all sorts of things which aren't true. But the happiness in your mind, that's very hard to make up. And that's one of the reasons why many years ago a gentleman came up to me in the middle of a retreat, and I asked him how he was, and he said, oh, he's really disappointed. And he looked disappointed. I said, why, what's wrong? Meditation no good? Yeah, he said, I can only get into the first jhana, I just cannot get into the second jhana. And straight away I realized that he hadn't got a clue what these deep meditations and the word jhana actually means. Because if you just get into a deep meditation, you can't resist. It's just nature, it's part of the experience. You're very, very blissed out, a lot of happiness and joy. And it's one of the things which it teaches you, that what joy and happiness really are, and what suffering is. And the old Buddha's 4 Noble Truths. And you're experiencing this. It's not just what you believe, what you work out, an intellectual theory. It's something more powerful than that. And this is where people start to get the insights which are based on experience, as well as logic, but also mostly experience. It's okay to understand that I was going to say, like, Paris is a beautiful city, but if you haven't been there, you don't really know what it's like. And if you have been in these quiet meditations where the mind is really still, you don't need to think about anything, so you don't think. You're aware, silently, peacefully, and the mind doesn't move all over the place, it stays still. And when those sorts of things happen, you experience the joy of that, then what you experience, it becomes very easy to understand this is what meditation is all about. So the meditation is keeping your mind still. No need to move. Kind of, do you understand what that means? The stillness, the silence? Can you feel the silence? Experience it? Is it gorgeous? To me, because I've been a monk for such a long time, and much of that time just sitting quietly with my eyes closed and just relaxing to the max, you really get to be a connoisseur of stillness. You enjoy it. And these days, as I was saying to the monks in the monastery, that you don't even work towards the peace and the joy. You know it so well that it says, this is something that said by the Buddha, it's an automatic process now. The mind leaps towards that stillness. It kind of says it sees it, it can feel it, it's close. You don't have to do anything. Just the mind goes towards it automatically. It's pulled towards it. It leaps towards it. And just as it leaps towards it, then the joy and the happiness take over. And when we get the joy and the happiness in the meditation, that's really what's happening, then you do find that the mind gets more and more still. It doesn't need to move. It doesn't wander away. It doesn't start to go thinking about things. The simile would be that, you're enjoying this beautiful, beautiful, say, sunset, and your partner standing next to you says, "What are we going to have for dinner this evening?" And you say, "Shut up. We're seeing this beautiful sunset. Who needs to think about dinner?" And this is where we understand that some of the states of mind which you experience in meditation are so much more attractive, so much more satisfying, so much more, even say, alluring. They just pull you in to the silence, the peace, the joy. You know that it's hard to find silence in our modern world. There's so many people. And sometimes even if you do have a place where there's hardly any people around, there's animals, you're under a flight path, there's a road close by, the wind is making a noise. And many years ago, that I remember people saying, "Oh, meditating or having a walk by the ocean is beautiful." And they asked me what I thought about the ocean. And I said the ocean is noisy. It kind of shocked them, but I was being honest. Every time I went by the beach, there's always the waves breaking and making a noise and disturbing the stillness. I prefer the forests or the caves. They're one of the most silent places I've ever been in. And it's not just silent, it's like you can hide there from the world, nothing makes any noise. And so those caves or those forests, the forests in Australia are beautifully silent. Much more silent than the forests over in Sri Lanka or in Thailand or Burma. The forests over in Australia, they're incredibly silent. The only sound you hear at night may be the bump, bump, bump of a kangaroo. There's hardly any cicadas over in the forest where I live. So everything is just so, so peaceful. And there's something alluring about peace. A lot of people would love to have peace in their life. But when they do find some peace, we don't remember how to cherish that peace, how to enjoy that peace. And a lot of times the peace kind of scares us. I say it scares us because I remember one of the first times when I came to Australia and was finding a nice quiet place for a monastery, and found out that when visitors would come, they would often raise their voices. They would speak louder than they normally would, not because they needed to be heard, because the silence challenged them. It challenged them because their sense of self was diminished in the silence. They couldn't control it. This is what happens when we do let go and give up control and give up wanting and give up plans and give up memories. There's basically nothing to think about. You're just being silent inside. The silence outside has got into you. When that happens, it becomes, such, to me anyway, such a beautiful resting place. Much more peaceful than an ocean. Much more peaceful than anywhere in the world. The silence inside of you. And when that silence really starts to establish itself inside of you, you just don't want to think. The joy of that silence is just too delightful. And when you feel so much joy, you don't want it to stop. It's just gorgeous, and you have a wonderful time. And in that peace, it's not just indulging in the joy. That kind of peace, when the mind doesn't move much, then that becomes a great source of insight for you. And yeah, I think I've got time to say this anecdote. That when I was in Melbourne, I did a talk, that's last weekend, teaching a meditation retreat. And then when I was in Melbourne, I was telling people that many years ago, I got invited to South Korea to give a keynote address at a conference, and it had nothing to do with Buddhism. The conference was the World Computer Conference in Daejeon in South Korea, and my talk was the keynote address to set the tone for the conference, which was quite weird because my computer skills are very, very, very low. So many people asked, why are you coming here to teach all these experts from Samsung and from, I forget which other companies were there, about computing skills? And I said, I'm here to show you something different you haven't heard before. And one of the things which I did there, I picked up a plastic bottle of water which was by my seat because I was giving a talk. And so I asked the audience, these great experts in technology, what is this I'm holding up? And I repeated this little exercise over in Melbourne a couple of days ago. You hold something up, what is this you're holding up? And then a few people shouted out, bottle of water, plastic, and maybe 200 litres or whatever. And then I said, yeah, carry on. And they kept on giving their descriptions. You could see each one was looking for the right answer and waiting for me to say, yes, yes, you've got it, congratulations. But of course there was no right answer. I just wanted people to keep looking, to see deeper. And this is what happens when you are calm and peaceful. You can look at something for a long time and never assume that you know what it is. You just keep looking, exploring, and seeing new things in whatever you're looking at. And as you do that, your insights and understandings get deeper. It was a symbol of what they call innovation. I said, that's what I'm here for, to teach you how to innovate. And they got it very well. So not only did they give me a business class ticket to go to South Korea from Perth and put me up in a nice hotel, they were so pleased that they gave a big donation of a couple of $1,000 to the Buddhist Society of Western Australia. As I said this morning when I was describing this to a couple of young ladies, So this is what they call, where I grew up in London, a nice little earner. But it's more than that. It was just how, through keeping your mind still, not only you get joy, but with that stillness you can keep your mind still enough to see things deeply. You don't move too fast. You can stay, explore, and understand things you've never understood before. It's a way of knowing, insight, understanding. And there's so many examples of that. Because, I did my studies as a young man at Cambridge in theoretical physics. There's one man over there called Brian Josephson who got a Nobel Prize for understanding what these days we call quantum tunneling. And he understood it, published his results, and first of all it was a lot of controversy. They thought he was wrong. After about 6 or 7 years they found out he was totally right, and they gave him a Nobel Prize for that. I only mention that story because he got that insight, that understanding. He was exploring like many other people, but then he meditated. And as a result of the meditation, the peace, the stillness, the clarity of mind, he could see deeper than others. And that's where his Nobel came from. The only Welshman to ever win a Nobel Prize in physics. Now that's kind of worldly, but it's still pretty cool if you get a Nobel. But what was most important was how it worked for him. The stillness, the clarity, gave him the opportunity for deep insight, to understand exactly what's going on. And that's why this meditation is not just for enjoying yourselves. Of course you enjoy yourself even more after you get deep insight. But it's about understanding who you are, why you're here, what you're doing, and what is this you. And when that becomes very clear to you, personal understanding, then you can check it out from what the Buddha said, and it's just so dead accurate. And that gives you more confidence that this is a path, not of belief, not of just lessening stress, but of deep understanding about the nature of who you are and why you're here. Okay, so that's the introduction. So once again, if anyone's here for the 4 beginners classes in meditation, introduction to classes in meditation, that's in the room next door. But those of you who want to carry on here, I usually start by leading a guided meditation for 15 or 20 minutes, and then I'll be quiet. That guided meditation is just to get you in the right direction. And once you're in the right direction, then off you go. And I will be quiet too. We finish off about 4 o'clock, and when we do finish off at 4 o'clock, that is when we open up for questions. Okay, so let's get going. Those of you who are a bit stiff, you can always stretch your legs or whatever and just move just to get your body really comfortable. And then we get even more comfortable by calming our body right down. I'm just loosening my belt. When I start meditating, I become so much more aware of my body. I can feel if anything is a bit tight, and of course I will loosen it. So close your eyes Remember the purpose of this meditation, especially the beginning, is stillness. We're letting go of the causes for disturbance. And one of the causes, what disturbs me, is having a body which is old. So I usually spend the first 15 minutes just doing a body scan. It's called body awareness. But it's not just being aware, being mindful of my body. I usually coined the term kindfulness, changing the M of mindfulness to a K, and having this beautiful combination of being aware, but being kind as I'm aware. And I start with just being aware of my feet. And I can feel once again my toe get squashed under my left calf. So I'll just move my feet to avoid that problem. It's much better. And it's not just finding physical comfort. It's the same as the psychology of being aware and kind at the same time to something or some being. Once they know that you're giving them kindness and safety, that relaxes them. So I can feel my feet get more and more comfortable and relaxed. There's a special type of feeling I know is the feeling of relaxation, ease, comfort. And I wait until I can feel that. So I know my feet are relaxed, I'm not imagining it. And I move past my feet to my ankles. They don't usually cause me much problem, but if they were, I would move them or scratch them or put a cushion under them or something. Meditation is not about endurance. The word sounds similar, enjoyment. I move past my ankles to the calves of my legs. There's usually not too much going on there. But nevertheless, I can feel them being at ease. And sometimes you can feel your calves being warm or cold. There's another type of feeling which I recognize of being at ease, open, relaxed, no tightness or tension on them. And I wait till I can feel that. It's just like you're the pilot of an aircraft. You check all of the dials, all the measurements, all the things which you should do before you're taking off. Make sure that everything is in good order. That's why I compare this to this body awareness, the kindfulness at the beginning, to prepare my body for a long meditation. I get to my knees. I love knowing that even the left knee feeling and the right knee feeling are actually different. You become an expert on the feelings, the different feelings in your knees even. So much so, you know when they are relaxed, when they're fully relaxed. You know when there's a problem there. You know how to bring that problem to what you know is relaxation. A lot of time it's being in this present moment and being kind, not worrying. And the kindness makes my knees feel, it's my experience, feel warm and at ease. It's like they're being looked after, they've got nothing to worry about. And from my knees I go to my thighs. Big muscles, but nothing much goes on in there. But I can feel them. I know they're special sensations which are different from any other part of the body. And once you can experience their sensations, it's not that hard to bring them to a sense of deeper relaxation. I can't feel any tightness in there. Muscles or ligaments, whatever it was, which were kind of stretched, I've loosened both ends. That's what it feels like. So my knees are at ease. As I go up to my buttocks, there I can feel just the weight of the body on the cushion. When I first sat down, I was moving a little bit because I was trying to get the cushion in a correct place. To me that's important. If it's not in a good place, it'll be sore after half an hour. Once it's in a really good place, that takes mindfulness and kindness. I know that I can leave it alone, and those feelings in the buttocks will soon vanish by themselves. So move up to the waist. I already solved one difficulty there, was my belt was a bit tight. I loosened that belt. Now I can feel the waist and the sensations in that area of the body. And they're pretty relaxed, they're good enough. I'm kind to them. It's amazing how kindness relaxes things. And I move up to my inside of the body, like I do a scan that they do in one of these machines in a hospital. This is my own scan. I can feel tightnesses or tensions in my torso, if there are any there. Sometimes you can feel the sensations of the organs which are in the back of my torso as I scan upwards. And I always have this feeling of relaxation, of kindness, of being kind to my own body. I don't feel many problems there. But as I go past, I give a blast of kindness to all these organs of my body which do all of their functions. They do it pretty well for the last, for me anyway, over 72 years. I'm grateful. And as I scan upwards, get to my stomach. I had a good lunch today. My stomach is at ease. That's how it feels right now. It doesn't require anything. I'm sure it must be digesting some of the food left over. But it's doing that quite comfortably. So if I had a tummy ache, I would just stay with those sensations, give them more kindness, to relax everything. And I'd go further up to my lungs. There are many respiratory diseases. I want to make sure my lungs are strong, are healthy. I use kindness to do that. This beautiful loving kindness. May you be well and happy, lungs. I appreciate you. Especially by this time, I'm getting really calm. I don't need so much oxygen. So it's like this is natural. I'm not forcing this. So the lungs can operate on a very reduced activity level. And that feels good for them. It's like they're taking a rest. I go up to my heart area. And they can imagine just this heart always beating. Now I allow it to beat a bit slower. It doesn't need to work at full capacity. So it can relax. And I go further up to my shoulders. And I mention this, please excuse me, if those of you have trouble with your chest, with breast cancers and things, as you go past that area, see if you can pick up any feelings there. Get to know those areas with your mind of how it feels. And how to relax those muscles, whatever's there. And make that part of your body one of the healthiest parts. And eventually I get up to my shoulders. I was surprised. When I get to my shoulders, they're usually tense. But today they are at ease. I can feel them. I don't hold any of those muscles tightly. I don't pull them or push them or squash them. I just allow them to be at ease. At ease means they can be natural. I'm not forcing them to look one particular way for some camera. I let the shoulders droop if that's what they want. Until I can, I'm not making this up, I can feel those shoulders really loose. They feel so comfortable. I go down those shoulders to the elbows, past the elbows, down the forearms, past the forearms, past the wrists. I do that really quickly because I very rarely have any problems in that part of my body. But I still check them anyway. I get now to my hands. And in order to be aware, a skillful method, very easy, is to ask, hands, fingers, are you comfortable? And right now my fingers have been so comfortable, they've disappeared. That's what happens when parts of your body get so relaxed, you can hardly feel them. Says, I'm happy you're relaxed down there, fingers. I don't need to move you. I have this beautiful relationship with each part of my body. I respect them. And I ask them how they feel. Just like I would ask any of you how you feel. And I would respect your perception. And once my arms have been relaxed, I go back up to my shoulders and neck. I don't know about you, but any problems I have with my neck is because my head is not balanced properly on top of it. Sometimes my head is too far forward or too far back. Very rarely, just too far to one side. So I move my neck, or rather move my head on top of the neck. I kind of always do this, to find the best position. The position which is kindest to the feelings in my neck. And then lastly, I go to my head. I go to the feelings in the face, especially around the eyes, around the nose, around the mouth. Because those are the feelings I can pick up very easily. And I'm kind to them. I like my eyes being closed. I never shut them down tight. And the muscles around those eyes, I can feel any tension in them. And I loosen off that tension. What we call relaxing those muscles. And around the nose and the mouth. And I know that emotional states of tension cause those muscles to screw up tightly. So by understanding those muscles in the front of the face and relaxing them, you do a lot to lessen the power of negative emotions. And I stay with my face, my awareness of my face, until that feels as comfortable as the rest of the body. And the last thing I do on the body is kind of imagine it all joined up together now. From the toes to the face, everything in between. This is my body. I've been aware of it, kind with it, and relaxed it. I know this is a beautiful foundation for the meditation. Been doing this for years. I know how well this works. At the same time, I've built up the power of mindfulness and kindness. But before I let this body go, as I'm experiencing its state of relaxation, I always feel this sense of joy. It is a pleasure of relaxation. It took a few moments to see in my own body today. Now it's there. When I put the pleasure of relaxation as my meditation object for a few moments, the relaxation goes deeper. So my body becomes deeply relaxed. It allows other things, not just my hands, to disappear. They're not a burden anymore. That's what it feels like. So now I can go to my mind. And one of the best ways I've found to lead people, once their body is relaxed, into their mental world, is for you to ask yourself, how peaceful are you now? Because peace is one of the most beautiful flowers in your mind. Once you can experience peace, you're experiencing your mind, an important part of it. When I do experience peace inside, I learn and understand the causes of peace. What makes peace become stable and deep and even more prominent than it was at the beginning. And this is where especially letting go of past and future and being kind in this moment. Being kind in this moment means I say that this is good enough right now. Don't criticize anything. And then the peace just goes deeper. It goes into silence. And the silence goes into stillness. And this is the point where I stop speaking. I can't talk now. When I talk again, it'll be close to the end of the meditation. Getting close to the end of this meditation period. Right now, how do you feel? Especially how much peace and satisfaction are in your mind. And how does your body feel? See if you can notice the benefits of meditation, the relaxation of the body, feeling of health afterwards, and a deep state of peace in your mind. I will now ring the gong 3 times as usual. When the last sound of the gong, the third sound, starts to disappear, then come out of the meditation. Here we go. Sometimes, like today, that we answer the questions which people sent on the internet first of all, to give the people who are here, hopefully if you are really calm and quiet, a chance for your brain to start working more intellectually instead of trying to figure out or ask your own question first. Ooh. First question. Metta works better on me than on others, but it's even better if it's on me and a dear friend at the same time. May we be happy, not I or he. Is it possible to achieve samadhi in this way? Yes, what happens to achieve that stillness? You may start, may we be happy and well, and then you just expand that, may all beings be happy and well. Once it's strong enough on easy objects, then you just expand that feeling of loving kindness to be more expansive, include more people in, and does it get so blissful, does all beings be happy and well? Afterwards, later on, you realize that those all beings include people that before you kind of despised or didn't like at all. They get included in. And then from all beings be happy and well, just may there be happy and wellness. You take away, this is how I do it, that all beings, there's any discriminatory language, and maybe there be happiness and well-being. When you depersonalize it, that's when it gets more and more still, more and more samadhi-like. From Germany, could you please explain in a nutshell what happens to body and mind as you do nothing? How do you heal if you do nothing? what happens to body and mind as you sit, especially the sicknesses of the body. I do know, I kind of find it kind of interesting. It piqued my attention when I heard that sometimes people in very serious injuries to their body are put in an induced coma. They're putting in an induced coma because somehow or other the body can heal much better when we don't get involved in some situations. And that's what happens when you do nothing. You do nothing, well, actually it's nothing doing, simply because the body is comfortable. And then it's where it disappears. It's just there in the background. And then you just can't feel it at all. I was just mentioning this, I think yesterday evening, about that time I went to a Zen monastery in the north of England and was told just to watch the wall with your eyes open, sit still, be quiet, and meditate with your eyes open, watching a wall. It was just a simple whitewashed wall. And that's what happened when you became still. You still was seeing things, seeing the wall, not seeing things, but seeing thing. It wasn't changing. And then the wall vanished. It's the first time I noticed something vanish with my eyes wide open. And the reason is because the sense of sight just turned off. It wasn't required. Nothing was happening. It wasn't dangerous. I wasn't thinking. I was still, peaceful. And this is what happens. Some perceptions which can cause you fear, worry, tension, disappear. So your body can relax so deeply, much more than when your senses are active. So that's what happens when you are still. And when you're doing nothing, what happens to the mind when you are still? The mind still moves. To get the mind really still takes a lot of skill. And what's happening there when you're not even thinking, when your sense of doing, your will stops and vanishes, that's what you experience in the second jhana and above. That will just is not available to you anymore. So it's almost like a culmination of samadhi, of stillness. So only the second jhana, there's more things to be refined. But here, all the movement has stopped. And you can't do anything. There's no buttons you can press, no one to do the pressing of buttons. That's only a simile, a metaphor. And what happens to the mind? Because it's still, it doesn't waste energy. It's just like the best simile is those times you held a magnifying glass, above, say, a piece of newspaper on a sunny day. And because all of that energy was focused, and you didn't move the magnifying glass, you kept it still, then the heat built up. You had a fire. And it's interesting for those of you who are interested in the Pali language, which is the language of Theravada Buddhism. The word jhana is linked to like fire, something which is burning. It's like that metaphor of the magnifying glass actually describes something. All the energy kind of builds up, and what you experience is not like burning, but just bliss. From Germany, what do I have to do if I want to be real Buddhist? Is there a ceremony that I must do? Because I've heard of various opinions on that. That's first of all, if you want to be a real Buddhist, just discard all opinions and realize people explain things in so many different ways. The most important thing is this Buddhism and all the teachings and practices associated with Buddhism, at least most of them, you can see the benefit in them. And you can see that this is who you are. And as you practice deeper and deeper, more and more, you soon come to the point where that just let people know that I'm a Buddhist. That describes who you are, like you describe you're a male or you're Australian or whatever. So if you really want to commit to being a Buddhist, then the best way is to take the 3 refuges. And those 3 refuges, the Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi. That's really powerful when you understand what you're doing and what that chant really means. It has emotional power. And because it has that type of power, it's inspiring. When we did the Vesak, giving the precepts and the 3 refuges, because these were new Buddhists we were talking to, a lot of times that we did these in English. But I'm sorry, when it comes to the 3 refuges, the Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchāmi, to me that's so powerful in the Pali. It is, it's almost like diminishing it if I say it in English. If you want to say what it really means as concepts, then you can read a book about it. If you want to feel it, feel its emotional power, which is different, then you chant it. And in Pali, and it's powerful. And lastly, Ajahn, how should one address feelings that occur during meditation? You don't address them at all. You just enjoy them. If it really is a good meditation, a peaceful meditation, a still meditation, those feelings are powerful and very joyful. If you have feelings of fear, then that is because you're trying to control things. Just let the meditation evolve by itself. You don't have to control or be afraid. And it's the same with excitement. The wow, wow. Those types of responses at all shows there's a sense of self there again. In meditation, I had a great teacher with Ajahn Chah. He always would remind us, you don't meditate to attain things. Saying wow, 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 that's only if you attain something. We meditate to let go of things, to allow things to vanish, and experience the deeper states of peace and stillness and emptiness. With a good teacher like that, those emotions which come up of fear or excitement were really diminished. So anyway, that's how to address the feelings that occur during good meditations. If it's not so deep meditations and any feelings come up, just know them. They're not going to harm you or hurt you. It's more exploring the different emotions and feelings which come up in meditation. The less you do with them, the more they just become different than you've ever expected. Just like that water bottle simile I said at the beginning of this meditation. You put the water bottle up and you explore it and you see things you've never seen in it before. Emotions like pain, so disappointment, excitement. You explore them deeper and deeper and deeper when you're still. You don't do it. You just have this emotion or this feeling which is just there. You've got nothing else to look at. And so you soon get to know it more and more and more, just by being with it. Okay, I keep on talking too much. Has anyone got any comments from here? From, we say, the chair, or the cushion, or the floor? Any comments or questions? Oh yeah, Elle has, yeah. Elle is one of our admin officers. So she helps run the Buddhist Society.
Seeing as you mentioned chanting, this is a question I've been wondering about. I've been listening in the mornings to one of your guided metta meditations,
Yes.
which you always end with a beautiful chant.
Oh yes.
And I wanted to know if it's just my perception or if it's true that the chanting still has the power in the recording, because it feels like it does to me.
Yes. Of course it does. So sometimes, there was a gentleman here last night, Mr. Beer. Did you see him last night? Because I think you've been sending sort of contacts to him, and I've been doing lots of chanting. He was the brother of one of the regulars who comes here, and he had this very bad accident. Should have been dead, but then he was in a coma or whatever. I may get some of the details wrong, but then his sister, because she comes here, asked for some chanting for him. We really gave him a lot of chanting, and he came here to say thank you. He said that's what kept him alive. He's got part of his skull missing. He said it's in a fridge at the moment before they put it back into the rest of his skull. And he was just such a happy man, a young man. And his sister, you see her here most Friday evenings. And they said, chanting did that. And that's his word, not mine. So it does have power. So
Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay, in the back over there.
Ajahn Brahm, I have anxiety, and I find that when I meditate, I find that like I tend to expect a lot of things. So when I meditate in daily life, or when I just try to be mindful, I find it very easy to just let go and relax, because I'm not really expecting much. But in a meditation, especially like in a formal sitting, I find like I get very stressed and a lot of pressure, because I feel like what if I'm not doing it right, or what if I'm not getting peaceful, and then I keep worrying a lot, and it's usually unconscious. So do you have any advice on how I can progress forward?
Yes, so what we do, we see that as a problem. It recurs again and again. So at the start of the meditation, you can do a little, what they call the adhitthana, or sometimes people use the Indian form adhisthana. What the adhisthana is, you see there's a problem there, expectation. So you say to yourself, in your own words, I usually say it 3 times, I will not expect anything. I will not expect anything. I will not expect anything. I do it much slower than that. Give as much mindfulness as I can to what I'm saying. Then I forget it deliberately. Because it's like putting, for want of a better word, an antivirus, in your brain. And what happens then, when you start meditating, you don't even know you're expecting something, but the mind does. And it says, no. And you stop. You don't expect anything. I found that really useful. It's also, sometimes people might get excited. And instead of getting excited, if you try to say that I'm excited, I've blown it, that sort of thinking and commentary makes it even worse. So when you program your mindfulness, you say, I will not get excited, I will not get excited, I will not get excited, slowly with full awareness. Then what happens is, you're about to get excited. I normally would get excited, but you don't. The antivirus is working. So try and experiment with that. It's really good fun. It's very powerful.
So sometimes, like when I try to tell myself not to expect anything, I find that that's like creating another expectation. So
Correct.
Should I just let my mind expect it, and then just slowly realize that that expecting things is causing suffering? Then my mind will slowly fix itself.
Yeah, but it's best to do that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
As you do it at the very, very beginning, it doesn't disturb the mind at all, but it leaves an imprint in there, just like the antivirus.
Yep. And
it's just an automatic process. Once the mind starts, to get kind of excited, it stops it itself. You don't say anything. Just at the beginning, that's all. Then afterwards, it just works.
Yeah.
If you want to see how powerful that is, when you go to bed tonight, you say to yourself, I will wake up at, say, 6 a.m. tomorrow. I don't know what time you have to get up. Just, you get relaxed in bed, and you say, I will wake up at 6 p.m. I will wake up at 6 p.m. And that's wrong, is it? 6 a.m. I will wake up at 6 a.m. I will wake up at 6 a.m. I will wake up at 6 a.m. And amazing just how powerful that is, how it works. Sometimes I get busy. Actually, not sometimes, most of the time. So if I have to do something like give a call to somebody, I do that just almost automatically now. I say to myself, I have to give Eddie the cool man. That's what he called himself. Eddie Cool. Is that your name? Yeah. I have to call Eddie Cool tonight. I have to call Eddie Cool tonight. I have to call Eddie Cool tonight. And I forget about it. In the evening, just the memory comes up. So it's a good way of actually not really remembering, not really forgetting. You're programming your mind to remember.
So it's like chanting?
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent.
Okay,
there was a question in the corner over there. Yeah.
Yes, I have a chronic condition that makes me feel stiff when I remain in just one position.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, I would always wanted to be able to meditate in the right position, but I can't because, I'm not able to remain in the same way.
So did you try walking meditation?
No, because I've always thought that that's wrong.
No, walking meditation gets so deep in walking meditation. I'll tell you one of the situations I got myself in when I was a young monk. I would do walking meditation in the main hall in this monastery in the middle of Bangkok. And it was quite noisy in there, but when I did walking meditation, I was focusing on the lifting of the feet and how they move forward. And then when the feet went down, it was on a carpeted hall. I could feel the carpet under my bare feet. I could feel the weight transfer from one leg to the other leg so I could walk again. And I really got into that. And I remember this one day, as I've been walking about 45 minutes, and then I heard a sound. It was Brahma Wang So. It was weird, it was like 100 meters away. Brahma Wang So, that was my full name. And I thought, this is weird. So I stopped feeling my feet and listened to the noise. And I soon was aware that the noise was coming from a monk who was shouting in my ear hole about that far away. It was weird. Even though, I was walking meditation, the sense of sound had just dissipated from me like a long distance away. It was a great meditation. And many people love doing the walking meditation, so much so, if you ever go to our retreat centre over in Jhana Grove, we built these 3 big rooms next to the meditation hall for walking meditation. And because I designed the whole thing, I made sure that the floor was this hard, unattractive concrete. But where people do the walking meditation, you got these red yoga mats, long red yoga mats. And I say that I respected walking meditation so much, I made it red carpet for each person who wants to do walking meditation. I would try that.
Thank you.
It works. But also, if you have to sit meditation like you did just now, see if you can just make those sort of adhitanas. I will meditate and I won't feel any pain. And be confident it can work. It's almost like hypnotizing yourself.
So it's like works for pain.
Sorry?
It works for pain.
Yeah, pain. What else happens? Yeah, it does work for pain, yeah. It's like, I've seen sometimes these experiments in hypnosis where somebody just, they cannot lift their arm up. There's some sort of damage to something or other. And under hypnosis, on these experiments which they record on the BBC or something, they get hypnotized. They said, you are able to lift up your hand. So lift up your hand, and they put it right up. They said, I can't do that. Or one of the other ones which I remember, they gave this lady who had to wear glasses to see anything. Her vision was really bad. And so she had to take the glasses off while she was being hypnotized. And when she was in hypnosis, they gave her this map and told her, where exactly were you living? Oh, down here, down that road. She could see perfectly under hypnosis. And it didn't make any sense, but that's actually what she was doing. And when they played it back to her, she was shocked. Well, I don't need his silly glasses after all. And of course she did. It was only under hypnosis. You use something else to overcome these hurdles which people have. Sometimes that works. Anyway, so that's just conditioning yourself. But do the walking meditation, that's beautiful. It's not second class.
Ajahn Brahm, I'd like to say something further to your comment, about the power of chanting the three refuge. That's through my personal experience, okay? It's very powerful, Ajahn Brahm. Not. I find it in circumstances where there's difficulty, and even like unlocking the door to, there's any thing, I find, Ajahn Brahm, it's more powerful if you use your mind, how do I say it? You chant wholeheartedly with the mind, okay, on the situation, Because, the Buddha was saying, the mind, is it this way, Ajahn Brahm?
Yeah,
the mind is the forerunner of all states,
Yeah.
So if you chant, like a difficult situation, so you really use the mind to, as it's like programming, it works because your power of you to diffuse the situation.
Yes.
You see what I mean, Ajahn Brahm?
Yes. I know what
I find it this way.
True.
Just to confirm what actually I come without wanting to say anything, but then you say this is a very important thing,
Yeah, indeed. I totally agree that when you do chanting, to make it really powerful, you've got to feel it deep inside, and it just comes out from your center, for want of a better word.
Also, Ajahn, if you see it another angle, like certain situations, they're bad energy,
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
So if you're chanting good energy, it frightens, it goes away.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly,
I find it. That's why I find it. I think I've spoken before, long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the power of the three, and also the other one is the Bojjhangas, Ajahn Brahm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the healing. When Buddha was sick,
Yes.
Chunda, recited, he got well, all this, and vice versa.
But those,
That too.
Yeah, that chant is powerful to understand fully what it means.
Yes.
And these are the enlightenment factors. If you've experienced them, or you are experiencing them kind of when you're chanting, there's huge power.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this to you before, I certainly mentioned it to the monks, that sometimes I can't chant. You start the chanting, even like Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. And to me it's so powerful, I just can't go on. You just sit there and just bliss out on the energy. There was this, even years ago, the 4 divine abidings. We used to chant those in Pali in Thailand. And then I remember Ajahn Brahm was asking me, he said, why don't you chant those? You start the chant, but you don't finish it ever. I said, well, just get off on it. When you're doing this, when they're chanting, I'm not just chanting, I'm actually doing it.
Yeah, with the mind, you know. Yeah,
really
focusing
powerful.
on it too.
You may think I'm crazy, but I'm just being honest with you. They're powerful, powerful lessons.
Thank you, Ajahn Brahm.
No, I'm very happy to share with you. Any other questions which anyone has? Okay, you've got to move again now.
Ajahn Brahm, I'm relatively new to meditation, and I find that my mind drifts away very often. So how do I be kind to my mind while still bringing my attention back to my breath and to the object?
No, please don't bring it back to the breath. Let it come. Let the breath come to you. You don't control anything.
Okay.
You relax to the max.
So should I just let my mind wander and just relax?
Let the mind wander, and you find it doesn't want to wander. The mind starts to like you and stay with you. It doesn't want to go anywhere. Then you find out how you get rid of the restlessness, not by imprisoning the mind in a cell. By being kind to your mind, you become best friends.
Yeah.
You don't want to go anywhere. You just hang out together for hours. Okay, I think people are packing up the stuff now, so we'll bring a formal end to the meditation class today. And those people who wish to stay longer to ask other questions, you're most welcome. What time was it be quiet or be peaceful? Be quiet. Be quiet doesn't mean that no one speaks. It's a nice discussion about quietness. And that'll be led by Venerable Akinchana. He's a very good teacher. Akinchana means no one. That's the meaning of it. Nothing. That's his name. So you're going to be taught nothing by Venerable Nothing. Okay, remember Buddhism has a great sense of humor. Okay, I'm going to bow now, and then we can have whatever we need to do.